All right. So, hi everybody. Everyone that's going to watch this later. Welcome to the clarity sessions. For this one, I'm excited to have it, even if we're both tired. I like to be honest on these things, but I think it's a very important conversation to have because the theme of the conversation sort of moves from November, which was typically the month for when people kind of raise awareness about men and all of those type of things as well. And there's no other person to kind of have this conversation with than the person that actually uses his voice. I don't know how your voice does not go down, but we have Black Boy in the house, Michael Caxton, and it's very weird. How many people call you your real name now, apart from like your wife or that gave birth to you?
I think my wife calls me Oladimeji or Dims. People prefer I prefer my native name because it's easier to understand where I'm from. When I say my name is Michael Caxton Martin, they're like, "Are you Nigerian? Where are you from?" All of that. So I hardly get Michael. I think my mom is the only one that still calls me Michael.
Interesting, interesting. Yeah. Anyways, it's good to have you. And basically, we're going just to do like a rapid fire answer question. Well, not rapid fire, but basically, the idea of this conversation is to talk about finding strength in self expression. And I mean, the theme kind of goes towards a lot of time for men, there's a expectation on how expression should look like in terms of how do you want to express yourself, what are things that you should say, what type of careers you should do, and all of those type of things as well. But looking at you in terms of at least what we see from the outside, you sort of do a duplicity of things. So from the black boy that everybody knows in terms of the guy, the MC, the hype man, the one that brings the energy, to the Michael that people know as a son. And then there's the Oladimiji that your wife knows. And then there is the guy that leads the non-profit organization, and then there's the one that works in radio, and there's a musician as well, and multiple things that even me I can tell that you do. So my first question, after you introduce yourself, would be how what's the journey towards kind of finding those different things and being able to express them in your own way, such that people you're able to cut off, categorize them, and people that know you for Black Boy know you for Black Boy, people that know you for Michael know you for Michael, people that know you for the guy that does non-profit know for profit, and they don't sort of be able to still express yourself properly in that dimension. So yeah, that would be my first question.
All right. Hi, everybody. My name is Michael Oladimeji Caxton Martins, and I'm super. I think the word would be privileged, honored to be on such a wonderful session. I was going through the previous sessions, and I was just like, all these great minds. And then there's this me that's going to be part of the history of, okay, I was also on one of the clarity sessions. So, yes, I'm super honored to be part of the session. I'm an event host. Um, I think that's like the one thing that comes to my head now when everybody says introduce yourself. But yes, I'm an event host, but I'm also a brother that loves to hype about the gospel at concerts. I'm also a volunteer and a brother that likes children. So yes, I run an organization. What else? What else? What else? I love food. I make music about food. Um, and yes, I think that's it. I'm trying to gather all my thoughts. It's been a very wonderful day. So yes, but I think that's me. I think to sum it up, I'm just a multi-potentialite, someone who has interest in a lot of amazing things and who also has different expressions of different talents. So yes, that's me. Um, the question again was, how did I? What was the journey like? Moving through having all of these expressions, all of these talents, and then being able to find my voice and also being able to not confuse people. I'd say it was a very, very wonderful journey. It was a trial and error journey for me until I understood what it means to have a voice, um, have a brand. It took a while for me to understand what it meant to be a multi-potentiality. It also took a while for me to understand what it meant to have diverse expressions of a single person. And I think the moment I started to understand it was when I first had this question of, and permit me, my faith is my reputation. So I'd speak a lot about God and my
Yeah.
belief in God.
Well, I thought you were saying I should permit you. I'm like, oh, sorry. Don't know any other things. So I now realize that I was saying permitted people that would listen. So yeah. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah. So, I started to understand I started to understand how to deal with having diverse expressions and all of that. When the very first question I had that pertained to that in a bit was the question of God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. And I remember I'd asked that question a bunch of times, I'd never really gotten a satisfactory answer, until I'd listened to a certain person, and then the Holy Spirit had began to show me, certain things about the Trinity of God. And that was when I fully understood what it meant to have one person and a diverse expression of that head. So I'd say from the very beginning, I'd always known that I had the talent of people. And what I mean by the talent of people, I was drawn to people whether I liked it or not. Speaking to people, convincing people, being able to charge up the atmosphere in a space. I'd always known it. So at first, I thought I was going to be, it first started from talking. My mom used to say, "You'll be a lawyer," My dad is a lawyer. And I was like, eh. And then entering secondary school, I went into sciences because at some point I thought I'd be a scientist. And that was like one of the biggest mistakes that I made because I finished secondary school and then I realized that wasn't it for me. So I had to go back and do art. Now I'm saying all these things because I need to emphasize the fact that I did make a lot of mistakes. I did do trials and errors, and those were the things that eventually shaped the coming together of this person. Those were the things that made it easier, that when I eventually understood what my purpose was, what I was supposed to be doing, I'd made the mistakes that I was supposed to be making at this point. I'd made them in the past. And so I did all of that. And then I started off as, a lot of people don't know this, I started off as a rapper. In my life, I thought I was going to just be a musician. My mom was not having it, but my dad was very progressive thinking for someone that schooled abroad. So he didn't have a problem with it. It's just like, as long as you're happy, So I'd gone to music school. And after I'd done that, I realized like that's not the only thing I want to do. I love talking. I want to pursue talking. So I went to broadcast school too. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but in all those times, I'd gotten admissions to school. I dropped out a couple of times. There was this particular one where eventually I said, okay, let me do part-time so that I have time to do all of the things that I want to do. And then I started, and after like a while, I just dropped out. Last Protect, I dropped out too. But in all those trials and errors, dropping out, and I knew what I was chasing. I I hadn't defined it, but I knew something was in me that was chasing towards something. So I continued. So I'd gone to music school, I'd gone to broadcast school, then I became a DJ. So I became a DJ. I became a gospel DJ. I first became a secular DJ, and my faith and all of that, I became a gospel DJ. Then I got into radio. I got into radio. I became a radio producer. Started producing on radio, producing shows. Then I became an OAP too. Started presenting, and then from there, I entered event hosting. Now, I said all these things to say that I went on a journey. Now, during that time, I then had gotten, my mom was like, oh, I'm not saying, my mom came around and said, I'm not saying you're not going to do all of your things, but you go to school. So I'd registered for Noun. I did open uni, and then I just picked a course. It was political science. It was not something I really wanted, but it was just, let me give my mother a degree. So I'd done that. And all of that just to say that I had all these experiences, that really then helped me when I eventually came of, I would say of age, because no matter the age that I was, where I felt like, oh, I was old enough, coming of age to me is coming into complete realization of a truth, coming into complete realization of a process, coming into the full know-how of a system. And so when I came of age and realized like, okay, this is talent, this is passion, this is what you need, da 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 da. That was when I packed all those things together and then channeled it into knowing BlackBoyMCM as the brand with diverse expression. So I first focused on one thing. I never forget, I had a mentor. He's still my mentor, Mr. Rero Suji. I worked with him for like the longest. And he'll tell me, I know you have all these expressions, but pick one at a time. Own it, sharpen it, peel it well. Then you move to the next thing. And that's basically, I hope that all this super story that I'm giving helps somebody out there understand what I'm trying to genuinely state, that I had to go through so many experiences, I had to make so many mistakes, and then all of those things were eventually things that shaped me to this very day. So yeah, if there's any other question from there that I did not answer, please let me know.
No. I think that that's I think that typically that's the journey that
Yeah,
most don't tell. Because a lot of time we see people mostly from the outside perspective. So
yeah,
and you get to meet them at the point whereby sometimes a journey that has taken them 5 years has begun to materialize, and you're only able to see that one
so
or that time that you've met them. And I think because, and this leads me to my next question, because again, it's finding expression. Because I would say that I do a couple of things as well. Firstly, I'm Christian. I serve in church. I do. I don't want to list it, but I do a couple of things as well. And part of what I found is that it's typically hard to even defend it to yourself that all of these things are making sense. I mean, and I'll just use this one example. Even just like coming every month to have this conversation. Some days I'll just wake up and say, "Why are you even?" It's like this does not. It does not help. Obviously, it does not help anybody. But like, why? I mean, you know why you are doing it, but it's almost like, what's the end goal? And so my question is, assuming that you've had those thinking at some point in your journey, how were you able to convince yourself that I'm not even thinking about it from an external perspective now, because convincing people is not as hard. Is that they believe or they don't believe? If you are strong-headed, you do your thing regardless. But
yeah.
convince yourself that this thing is worthwhile, and whether or not it yields results is something that you'd like to pursue. How, assuming that you've kind of had that experience, what's the way around it that people can able to just say, like, this is who I want to be, this is the path I want to follow, and this is how I want to express myself?
I've had those thoughts. I think I still do, sir. For me not to so that it doesn't seem like this guy understands everything that he's doing. I'd say that the one thing that made me what's the English word I'll use? Stay committed, stay on track, was the fact that I fully understood my purpose. So, like I said, um, everybody permit me. There's a very big God factor in my journey. A
Mhm.
very, very big God factor in my journey. It wasn't just by all those experiences. A lot of people have had those experiences, and it's just led them astray. It's led them into um, journeys that aren't typically theirs. So for me, it will always be the God factor. So times when I'd wake up and just say, um, what exactly am I doing in my life? And I think that was the major question I used to have half the time when I woke up 2018, 2019, no, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. I dealt seriously with that question. What are you doing with your life? I was on radio then, I was hosting a show on Unilag FM with my boss. And to a lot of people, it felt like, oh, this person is doing well, But to me, it felt like, what exactly am I doing in my life? Half the time I'm this MC. Half the time I'm an hype man. Half the time it felt like my life was everywhere. And because there weren't positive results at that time, it was easy to think that I was wasting my time. But after that period and coming into the God factor and realizing that God really did have a plan for me, I was here for a reason. And of course, my reason is very much personal to me. your reason might be different. You know, whoever is watching this video's reason might be different. But I think that the one thing that would help you is knowing why you are here. Um, when there is no when there is no goal, no purpose, no vision, no mission, it's very easy to lose track, lose sight, and lose the energy to keep pushing. It's like being on an express road, and you are say 30 kilometers away from your destination, but you can't see the destination. You're in the middle of the express, you can't see, you know, and it's an express road that has say a lagoon or something.
Mhm.
If you get testy or you get tired and you feel like there is no way, it's easy for you to just say, why am I even doing this? You know, just pump in the middle of the road or decide to take your life and just. And I
Mm.
almost got to that point. There was I think I shared it for the very first time in a long time this year, where I dealt with depression during that season of asking myself constantly, what am I doing in my life? What exactly is this? Like, why, you know, I dealt with serious depression, and it took the grace of God to help me get out of that depth of darkness, to understand that you are here for a reason. I'm giving
Mm.
you all of these expressions because I'm sending you to a certain people. I'm sending
Yep.
you to a certain time. I'm sending you to a certain generation. And I need you to go through with the journey. I listened to a message around that time called The Law of Process by Pastor Mavis of Potter's Church. And he has spoken about how God will take everybody through a journey to refine them and get them ready for the people that He's about to introduce them to. And so, in that process of in that process of journey, where it seems like, oh, everything is difficult, is literally equipping you with the answers that you will give to the same people that will go through that same process. And that's why it might seem like, oh, this guy can talk like this now because he's not going through what I'm going through. But the only reason why I can talk like this is because I actually have gone through what you were going through, and I can
Yeah.
speak on it now because I have personal experiences. It would be very, very weird if I came here and I was just reading from a script because I had never gone through any of the experiences that we're talking about now. So yeah, understanding my purpose, coming to the realization of it, and very importantly, majorly the God factor in my life helped me, you know, through those times where I had that same question. I think that was the first question. There was another question that followed up with it.
Oh, well, I think that's it. I think that's the
Embodiment of everything. Okay. Okay.
yes. Uh, yeah, and I think I like that because a number of times when we think about distance, I still remember I went to see my mom this afternoon, and I was telling her that I'm supposed to speak somewhere on Thursday before I travel, and she was like, "Ha! Finally, this you're speaking to is already bringing something up," and and I laughed because it's not even bringing what I know it can,
Yeah.
but I know the long journey it has taken me for people to believe that I have sense,
Mm.
and you know what you're doing, that you believe that this is the path that had been laid for you as well. And so I get I get where you're coming from, because particularly when you have an expression that doesn't align with what typically is seen, there's a path that everybody follows, and you're like, nah, that's not the path I want to follow. There's always resistance to say no,
Yeah.
like it doesn't make sense. And leads me to my next question, and maybe taking like a detour, because part of what we are talking about now, it's also related to men in terms of men finding self-expression. One of the things
Mm.
that I've realized with men is that, and I'm not sure because I don't have the stats, I don't have any research, but I think that one of the things that you see that happens with men is that most of the time, men, we want to go through a certain journey. Like everybody wants to walk through the same path. And that's why when you marry, you get the same advice. Once you give birth, you get the same advice. And I've been in a church program before, and they were planning a men's program, a men's convention, and they're telling the wives to remind their husband to come. I'm like, this man does not know that this is important in his life. For him to say, and the chorus answer for the men is, mom, we guys go also now. And it was almost like everyone just says men must work. And I'm not saying it's not right, but I'm bringing it to the question, which is, how have you able to define what words or what expression means like to you as a man, not taking
Mm,
the outside or not taking 100% what has been defined for us by society or even by just people that we respect in terms of what we see. So how have you said that? Okay, I see this buffet of what it means to be a man, and typically everybody takes bread, rice, chicken, but I want a salad instead. I want to be able to find my expression in this way. And I'll give an example. And this is a typical example everybody always gives, but it's the easiest way to kind of understand what it is. It's almost men don't cry. I remember in uni, no, not uni, in secondary school, they used to call me woman. And that was because I, I actually had emotions. Because
mm,
again, I'd cry when it was painful, I would be sad. And like, this guy in a
mm,
babe, this guy in a woman. And I grew up, I thought it was an insult back then. But then I grew up and I was like, I'm grateful that I have those things. Like, because I'm not stiff, I'm not any of those things. And I began to find ways to ensure that I don't let how it's defined for a man to find how I express myself because I know that I have certain things that people don't have. And I'd rather not just shove
mm.
them down because I want to fit into a box. So my question is, how have you defined for yourself in terms of finding your expression, what it means as a man without obviously staying in that box?
Mm. I'm really glad that you used yourself as an example because my answer was going to be something similar. For me, and it has always been something I've advocated for all my adult life, and people have called me all sorts for it. The word for what it means for me as a man to find my voice and all of that is vulnerability. Um, being vulnerable. I used to
Mm,
say something: men have no friends and women suffer the consequences. Here's what I
mm,
mean. Now, of course, men have friends in actual sense, but when I say men have no friends and women suffer the consequences, what I mean is men have no friends that they can discuss their emotions with.
mm,
And so the women suffer the consequences of pent up anger, unspoken emotions, hurt, childhood trauma, and women have to take up all of that burden, sometimes in the most negative way that a man does not, regard a woman, sometimes in the most traumatic way that a woman has to carry the burden of a man's traumatic past. My point is, for me as a man, I'd say what it means for a man like myself to have expression is to be able to be vulnerable without being worried about what society will say.
yeah.
Because it's always been men, their emotions versus the society. It's always been this is the standard of what a man should be. Like you said, there's a buffet of different things. Be macho, be strong, don't complain, don't talk, don't say this, don't pursue your dreams. You have to provide for the family. There's all of that buffet. But like in honest truth, not everybody wants to eat from the same thing that you people are eating. And it doesn't mean that they will starve to death. It means that people are allowed to eat whatever it is that they feel would nourish their body. And so for me, vulnerability would be the word. And it's something that I've lived by. It's something that, it took a very, very, it took a, a lot of work because I've gotten comments like, "Oh, are you a babe? Are you a woman? Why are you, even from family?" Let me just say it here. I've had situations where I'd open up about my emotions once, and then someone had told me it's only women that talk like this, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" you know. So yes, for me, the word is vulnerability, and somehow, somewhere, I'm really glad and grateful that somewhere there is a minor mentality that is beginning to come to limelight where men are allowed to express their emotions because that's the only way that you can find your voice. That's the only way you can express yourself. That's the only way you can find strength in expressing yourself. When first of all you can accept that as a man, there is no stereotype, there is no label onto how you should be. It's basically you finding yourself, redefining yourself, and then being able to stand in front of, if it's a 5 billion crowd, and say, "This is who I am, this is what I am, and I am happy with that." That's honestly it for me. Vulnerability, because there's no strength in being strong these days. There's strength in being vulnerable. There's strength in realizing that you can't do it all by yourself. There's strength in realizing like there's a reason why God said you go and marry now. There's a reason why you need people. There's a reason why you need community. So yeah, vulnerability will be that word for me.
Yeah. And I think that vulnerability as a word is probably bastardized or over, and it probably is still one of the most important things when it comes to this type of conversation, which is the sad reality of it. Because I think when I think about, no, that's bad English. When I think about vulnerability, I think about it from the context of there is no way you can know what has been deposited without going deeper to find what is there.
Mm.
And it, like you said, it's affecting our friendships as well. I was in a car a couple of days with a few of my friends and a couple, husband and wife, and the wife was saying that I don't understand you guys. All your friends are just guy, have fun, how you doing now? And you look like best of friends from outside, but really, you have no clue what is happening
Yeah.
inside. Like you guys would have, I mean, how do I say you guys? We would have the best of conversations, more guy. And honestly, if you think about it, the bane of the conversation, how you day, I day, how is life, I day, how is work, I
As
work, fine.
family.
If you are married, how is family, family day, your wife will how much you do, hope she don't stress you. And it goes like that and it ends.
Yeah.
And repeat. And really the things that actually burden us, the truth of who we are, of what we're trying to, the current things that we are discovering, it's just let me have my thoughts discover. And everybody's to blame. The man, the woman, the girl, whatever,
Yeah.
everybody's to blame. Because I think that there's a beauty of just finding deep down who am I? How do I stand out? How do I
Mm.
differentiate myself from everybody? What are the things that makes me me? And it's not shame to express that part of me. It doesn't. It's like eventually it makes me different as well. So I agree with you 100% that vulnerability is the major part of it because a lot of times we see it as I have to be weak and who is not weak in this life? See, I just point, I didn't want to be strong again. Like I think that we overestimated strength so much that everybody's feigning it. Everybody's pretending to be strong when
Yeah.
you just want to do is say, and particularly for us who are Christians and faith-based oriented, I think that one of the amazing things I'm just gonna crash my bed and shout, God, I am tired, help my life. And just being honest to that conversation sort of helps you also realize it. So just move a bit deeper as we begin to like wrap up the conversation. It's another part that I've seen with men and with us that sort of how we express ourselves is the metrics that we define,
Mm.
that defines our life. A successful man is a man that has made it, whether you like it or not. And when I mean made it, a man that can say, Wikubana, go to where I'll buy you off or whatever. Basically, what I mean is a man that has money,
Money.
that has
Yeah.
abundance of it. And it worries me a lot, particularly when it comes to how men express their love, how men express that they care. The definition of a man caring for you is the fact that I can give you now, black boy, 5 million for something, and it shows you I love you. And that's valid. I think that it takes a level of love to sacrifice. But I also think that it's not the only metric that should define us, particularly when it comes to how we express ourselves as well. So my question to you would have been, how have you been able to define what metrics, if you're willing to share, have you been able to define for yourself to say, hey, at least though at this stage of my life, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things that I think I want my life to be defined by. And I know that if I'm making progress in this, I'm happy.
Yeah. Um again, I'm going to use a say. So I live by a mantra. A man dies twice. The first time is when he's buried, and the second time is the last time that anybody mentions his name. So for me, one thing that I've always aimed for is that I have as much impact as it takes for my name to never be forgotten and me as a person to never be forgotten. So the concept or the metrics of making it as a man, as defined by me, would be the level of positive impacts within your personal space, the space
right after your personal space and the world at large. Um, we as humans, we are sometimes very selfish, and we feel like the concept of success is the amount of money that are stacked up in my account, the material things that I have bought in my name. And as much as I will not be an hypocrite to say, oh, I don't want money, or I don't chase money, it's very important. I also very much believe that those things will not matter at some point.
Mhm.
Um, and that might just be me because there's a time in my life where I was the happiest when the children at my NGO were okay.
Mhm.
And even till now, I am that way. Sometimes I'm I could be going through the craziest phases of life, and I just find solace in the fact that, oh, we've just paid the school fees of our children. They just brought their report card. We just got them new shoes or something, and I'm very happy. At that point, it feels like success. It feels like fulfillment. It feels like nothing else matters in life, and I really feel like that should be the metrics of what success or what it means to make it as a man should be. You know, Material things will always be secondary for me. They will because and the reason why I will never remove them completely from the equation because you need them to do half of the things that I'm saying that you need to do. So for me, it's always going to be the level of impact. Always going to be the level of what's the word I will use of how much you've touched the lives of people. It could be through just being a listening ear. If there's one thing that I knew that I wanted to be for my friends was the fact that I always wanted to be able to be there for them. Like you can talk to me and I will not judge you. You can tell me this was going on. You can tell me, bro, I'm just tired today. You can tell me, Omo, I don't even understand how I feel. And you are very much rest assured that I'm not going to, judge you. I'm not going to mock you. I'm not going to be the typical man in a society and say, oh, everybody's tired. So yeah, first thing will always be the level of impact. Second thing will always be being able to be there for people, being able to be a listening ear, being able to for people to just be comfortable to talk to me. And it's something that I live by like even onto this day. And I'm always happy about it when my friends just say, I just want to talk. My friends can call me and say, I just want to talk. I don't want advice. I just want to vent. And I'm there. And after the conversation, it's just like, thank you very much. It's a wonderful feeling. And even I have days where I also get called first and I'm like, oh, I just want to talk to you. I already know the right thing that you will advise me, but I don't want to hear it now. I just want to vent to you. And we have a very wonderful conversation of me just venting. And after the conversation, they're asking, are you okay? How do you feel now? And all of the questions. So yeah, for me, at least for me, it will always be the level of impact. It will always be the level of impact. And I'll repeat it again. We are all going to die twice. The first time is when you're buried. The second time will always be the last time that a person will mention your name, which is for them to mention your name. Now, you might be a negative person and then they will mention your name constantly, but not that kind of, how much impact did you make while you had the chance to be here? How much did you do? How well did you turn up for people? Was it something that came naturally to you, or was everything about money? Was it always about material things? So yeah, as a man, I would say your legacy build riches, but your legacy will always be the impact that you had in the lives of people. And I think that that's the metric of what a man should be for me. For me, I could just be saying nonsense to you, sir.
No, no. I think that yeah, you're correct in the terms of because I remember there was a time I was working on like my personal, I won't call it personal brand, but like personal ethos, one of the things that value to me. And I said I want to sow seeds, and this is how I describe it. I said that for a man that plants a seed, there's a possibility that the tree would not grow in his lifetime, so he might die before
Mm,
the grows.
because it's free. Yeah.
But the chance that the tree will grow after his death, and then people would use the tree as shade when there is sun or rain. But the man is not alive, and no one knows that this tree is the result of the sacrifice of one man. And that's how I see my life. I see everything I do as seeds. And Bible says that you will sow what you reap, not where you reap. And so it means that eventually someone will be able to enjoy from the benefits of me living a good life. And one other thing that I started to see now is the importance of timely seed sowing. And I'll give an example. You started an NGO that helped kids get off the street and go to school. You could have waited till you had 20 billion in your account. I don't know how long that would be, only God knows, but let's assume it to be in 5 years' time. I don't know.
Amen. Amen.
Maybe less. I'm just using maybe less, but let's use 5 years' time. The children that you have would have grown by 5 years. The need may not be important to them by then. Some might have died, some might have gone somewhere, some might have gone to drugs, been in jail. And even if you have the resource to help them, they don't need it. And that's something that started sticking with me too, in terms of when I want to make an impact or I think I want to do something, I think of the timeliness of it to say, do I want to wait till this person that I'm called to sow a seed to eventually never requires my seed? And then it's too late for my seed to generate results. And so you're absolutely correct in the context of legacy as well. And I think that is something that we should think about, and not legacy from a selfish place. Legacy from the part of I want to actually make a difference in the life, and you live it on a day-to-day basis as well. I think the last set of questions I'm going to ask, and I'll bulk them. It's just like a wrap-up question, and it's 3 in 1, so I'll ask it together, and it's rapid fire, so you don't have to go deep if you don't want to. But if you want to go deep, please be my guest. The first one is, if you could tell your younger self one thing about courage and self-expression. Well, okay, let's ask it one at a time. If you could tell your younger self about one thing about courage and self-expression, what would it be?
I think
Oh, I was saying that if you could tell,
okay.
yes, I can hear you. I was saying that if you could
All
tell
right.
your younger self one thing about courage and self-expression, what would it be?
Courage and self-expression.
Expression.
Okay, so yeah, if I heard the question right and the network didn't interfere, you said if we're talking about courage and self-expression, what would it be?
If you could tell your younger self one thing you've learned about courage and self-expression,
Oh,
what
okay. And self-expression, what would it be? My younger self, courage. I would say do.
Yeah.
Do. Because I took so much time doubting what the results would be. And so I wasted time that I thought like if I had put it into what I'm doing now at the very beginning without any doubt, it would have yielded way more results. And so it would be due for courage. I remember when we started the NGO, it was a very funny story how the NGO started and how we came this far. But there was a time where I was taking loans, to run projects for the children, and I know how long it took me for me to get to that state of mind. I was scared. I was like, is it worth it? Why am I doing this? And all of those questions. But if I could turn back the hand of time now, that would have been the first thing I would have done, because I'm seeing, and I'm just grateful that I'm alive to see the results of this thing. I just got back and I was in Lautech with Gaze for a store. And after the event, I was walking out and I saw someone come to me and she said, Uncle Dimeji. And at first it took me a while to, figure out who it was. And then I immediately figured out who this person was, one of the amazing children from one of our projects that we had done. And she was like, well, you just left us after the project. I mean, we caught up, but in my mind, I couldn't even hear any of the things that she was saying. All I kept going through my mind was, wow, this is this person, And I asked her, oh, you're in Lautech now? She's like, yeah. She's like, year 2. And I'm like, for you to be in year 2, like I was trying to dip into how far back, she was. And it was just an amazing feeling. And so for me, it would be go. It will be do. It will be all those things that I hesitated before I ever tried out. I will do them on the spot. For every time that God dropped it in my heart, do this thing. The other one about self-expression would be being, how do I put it? I found myself early late in a bit, but it took me a while to consciously express the self that I found. It took me a while to be, it took me a while to find strength in being able to do it. I was scared of what people would say. And so it would be express yourself no matter what. Like, you know what God has called you to, you know what your purpose is, you know what your talents are. Push, just do. Because at that point in my life, I was really doing a lot of comparisons. Like, oh, this person is doing this person is in tech, this person is chasing this degree, this person wants to get a second degree, and all of that. And if whether I liked it or not, I never got to do those things that those people did. But what I did to myself was slow myself down. Everybody was doing amazing, but the precious time I was using to contemplate if who I was supposed to be, or who the person I had found to be the real me was actually the right me, and people were moving forward and I was just there. It's like you're in a car race or something, and then everybody's trying to get to the finish line, and you, instead of focusing on the road, you take a few minutes to admire somebody else's car and say, oh, I wish that was my car, I would have been at the front by now. Should I get that kind of car? Should I go back and change my car? All that time that you're wasting, people are doing amazing stuff. The people you're supposed to meet on the road are most likely feeling like you're not going to come again, and then they are hopping into other people's vehicles and all of that and all of that. So yes, it would always be go, do, express yourself, make the mistake, do that thing. That's the whole point of being human. The whole point of being human is not to be perfect. The whole point of being human is to make the mistakes. I'm always careful when I say things like this, so that when I say make mistakes, it's not for you to go and do what you're not supposed to do. But like, yeah, I'm sure everybody understands where I'm coming from. But like, make the mistake, do that thing, take that bold step. Stop spending so much time trying to be a perfectionist before you do. That's another thing that I found out that a lot of people were having issues with as of the time that I was saying I'm taking loans to do projects for children. It's like, oh, I want to write this grant. The grant has to be perfect. And I'm not saying don't do all of those things. I promise you I'm not saying it. But if you know that you're called to a different journey from every other person, you need to take the bull by the horn, or however that saying goes. Because for me, to date, we've never gotten any grants from any organization, and we've done all the amazing things that we've done. So imagine if I was waiting, like, oh, let's wait, let's get this grant, I never would have met the girl at Lautech, or I would never have met the other amazing people that I've met who impacted. So yes, if I could tell my younger self anything, it would be go, without contemplating, without dilly-dallying, without trying to see, is this the, it would be go, you. Those would always be the words I would tell myself.
Thank you. I think for me, it's not a word, but it's a chunk of words. It's the world is listening, the world is not listening. I think that I'll start from the world is not listening. We so much think people care, people don't, but also people.
Yeah.
So I think it's that fine balance, knowing that your work matters, but also people don't care. So you kind of have to have a don't care mentality to do such that people care. It's a tricky, but I've learned it now that the world is listening. People are saying it, but they don't care as deep as you think
they don't care.
They don't care as you think they do. They're just like, okay, just move on. Because when it matters, people will remember. Basically.
Yeah.
My last point would just be, my last question would be, how can a man know when he's truly becoming the version that he wants to express to the world?
Very deep question, but again, from a personal point of view, I'd say a few words: peace, fulfillment, And what's the last word I'll add? I have what I want to say, but I won't put it into a word. I think let me leave it at the two: peace and fulfillment. So for me, no, and I think the third thing will be basically what you just spoke about. The moment you stop caring about what people say, the moment you stop caring about what people say. So first thing will be peace of mind. And peace of mind in the sense that for every man, there's always that thing in your heart. Now, a lot of people might not notice that. I don't know for other men, but you're always like, I just want to be better. I hope I'm doing well. I hope, there's always that. It gets to a point when you know that you're on the right track. The next thing you start telling yourself when you've gotten to that right track and you know that you're on your way there, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. The moment you figure out, the moment you're on the right track, you know you've gotten that thing you're supposed to be doing. You keep telling yourself is it's only a matter of time. The second one, I think I made 2 point peace and I don't know if you remember the second thing I said. I just lost it off.
Peace.
I said the third one was you wouldn't care what other people will say. But yeah, peace and well, in case anybody can't remember, I'm sorry. Fulfillment, yes. Yes. There's always going to be that sense of it wasn't a wasted day. I don't know how to explain it. Every day that you're continually on that journey, you would always, I mean, there will be days where we have bad days and all, but there will always be that thing of it wasn't, you would always find joy at the end of each day, knowing that you are on the right track. And that third thing will always be you wouldn't care what anybody else says. So even if anybody comes to you and says, "Oh, that is happening, that is that," and the journey that you are on, you know where you're going to, you would always just stick to it. So for me, it's always going to be peace. It's always going to be fulfillment. It's always going to be not caring what any other person says. There is always going to be that constant by yourself. We can feel it as men. When you can also tell yourself, when you're not on the right track. When this thing you're doing, you're not doing it because you trust the process. You're just trying out a couple of things. But when you've gotten that thing and that's how you can see a man that will stay on the journey for 10 years, will stay on a journey for 20 years, just because he knows that one day, because I know where I'm going to, because I know what I'm supposed to be doing, this thing is going to pay. I'll use Gaze Baba as an example. He was talking to us one of these days, and he was talking about how long he had been on this journey, and now if people would just see him and say, "Oh, he's big" and all of that, but he had to stay faithful to the journey. The only reason why he would have stayed faithful to that journey for this amount of years because he knew what God has shown him. He had come to the complete realization of that this is what God would have me do. This is where I'm headed. And then there's just that peace in his heart, no matter what. And I don't know if there was complete peace, but I want to believe that there was peace based off of conversations that he has had. There's just that peace where you keep pushing, you keep being consistent, you keep being diligent, whether there's result today, whether there's money, whether there is applause or applaud, whether anybody's saying well done. You're not really bothered about any of those things because you know where you're headed. And so that's it for me. Peace, fulfillment, and the fact that you really don't care what anybody else says.
Yeah. No, and I agree because the joy that comes from being on the right track is not the joy of the destination. It's the joy of the
process. Yes.
It's the joy that you know that, I made a difference today. I did. It's like every time I get a speaker to say, yes, I'm going to join you on this, I'm like, I put this up on my because for me, it's like, I know that this is what I want to do. This is part of the things that I want to build. So, and I'm beginning to enjoy the process a lot because I was saying to someone recently that I'm beginning to even, I don't, let me be careful. I'm enjoying, let me say it this way. I'm enjoying sharing the testimony of the process and the testimony of the result now. So I'm enjoying telling people that, hey, this has not happened, but like, Me and BlackBoy were on the call today, and he said this thing, and it really was exactly what I wanted to hear. It didn't do anything dramatically to change my life effectively for, but it was just what I needed for the time as well. And I think you would know. I think when you begin to also stop giving people the attention that they don't deserve to have on what you're doing, you would also know that you're currently on the right track. And you also just know by just you'd have joy. I
Yeah.
think nothing beats knowing that I am doing nothing beats round pegging round box. Nothing. It's like it's almost like it's ease. It's like
Yeah.
I don't think anybody can do what you do. People can, but I don't think anybody can do Black Boy like Black Boy. They can do Nifemi like Nifemi,
You
but they
feel me?
cannot do
Yeah.
Black Boy like Black
Black
Boy.
boy, the black boy.
And you know, it's not proud. It's not pride, rather. It's not, it's just knowing that there's something in me that only me has. I am too unique. And the moment you start expressing that, you know, like you leave a meeting and you know that you have left a scent of you that nobody can never forget. But you go
Mm,
somewhere and I try to be Black Boy,
mm,
you've confused people. They are seeing something of you,
yeah.
they are seeing something of blah blah blah. Like, which one should we take? But when they see you, they're like, ah, that's it. And I think that that's the beautiful part of finding your voice when you're able to know that wherever I find myself, you would like. I say this to my friends that I want to be consistent across places. I don't want to be a Nifemi in church and a different Nifemi in the workplace. I want you to know that the way I'm on serious in church is the way I'm on, and I'm on serious, not that I don't love God. On serious, like I just play around. What people guys start saying. The way I'm on serious, the way I'm on serious with my friends. It's the way I'm on serious with work. Like you find that same ethos around me, and that's when you know that you're. This is true to you. This is not borrowed, like an endless ocean would say. It's you. It's who you are as well, and I think I want to say thank you for the conversation. I think that I find it easier when people share from their personal experiences or real life. One of the reasons why we started this and using younger people is that again I'm a process guy.
Mm,
I I think that if I'd called someone like Teno Lumelu or even like Bishop Oyedepo on this, which are amazing people by the way, I think that they will be telling us a completed story.
mm,
Not see when Bishop was doing A and B and C, people would
yeah.
only see Bishop riding a private jet. And the value of the process of what Bishop is telling us is lost because all people can see is the Bishop that owns that shepherds winners chapel. They don't know the Bishop that started with 10 members. And so, but with me and you, people see us that oh, this guy they walk. And so whatever glorification that comes with the work, they see the process. And
Yeah.
so for me, why we bring younger people is that we want people that there's no disconnect between their process and their results.
And the results. Yeah.
Like you can automatically connect it. And when they're telling you the results, you're not in your thinking, you're not falling in love with the result without knowing the process. Because they don't
Process.
we fall in love with people like Pastor Nas. We love the results. If
Yeah.
we don't love their we love Apostle Selman's results. We don't love their process.
Hmm.
We love all the results. Use Get an example. Everybody loves Get results. I want one song that will take me around the world. I love 10 years of obscurity. And so for me, it's just a way to say, see, let's find people that have their process right in your front, such that
Front. Yeah.
once you see their results, you can tell that this is what it took to get to this place that and their journey is not ended again.
Mhm.
It's not like it's not they're not at the peak of it. But you can see them climbing. So they're not down, but they're climbing as well. So I'm a huge fan, genuinely. I think that I'm sure you know I can shout, but I can't hype the way you hype. I, I feel like I'm such a very listen using lazy in quotes now. I'm such a very lazy person that if I do one hype today, I need 1 week off. One one full week
I'm
of
like that too now.
you that you do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You're not gonna do wedding on Tuesday. I need 1 full week off. So because of that, I know I cannot do it as a career. I know because I know that I can just but I think that you're amazing at what you do. I think that there
Thank
is a
you.
grace that nobody has based on what you do. It's typically just a privilege to always just know that there are people that are doing beautiful stuff. And thank you so much for taking up the time. Thank you for sharing openly. We're grateful and that we had you. And I know that when we
Thank
call, you would answer us so that we can say that, oh, do you know that I interviewed Black Boy 5 years ago? Oh, you did?
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for having
Let me
me.
allow
It
you.
was
Let me allow you to rest. Also, please
thank
sorry
you.
about your car as
Abba,
well.
it's fine. Perks of being in Lagos. It's funny that every time I'm out, I'm always like, I miss Lagos, I miss Lagos. But once I'm here, I'm like, I don't want to be here.
I feel like I feel like for every okay, this is not part of the service. I'm just gonna stop recording.